Alright, y'all. As it normally is, no, not normally, but it does happen a few times on this channel. I am currently drunk and I am making another video. If you're wondering what I am drinking on, I'm drinking a vanilla Smirnoff with some zero sugar Pepsi or any Pepsi, but this is probably one of the smoothest vodkas I had, at least in mixed drinks, because not only does it go down smooth, the only thing you taste from it is the vanilla aftertaste. So, if I was sponsored, which I'm not, but if I was sponsored, this would be one of those products that I'd probably get out there and sponsor. But unfortunately, I am not. So, what am I making this video about? If you saw the title, then you know what I'm making it about. I'm making it about Doordash. I want to talk about a couple of reasons why I think that Doordash, at least in the state that I am in, which is Illinois, and at least when you're a driver for Doordash, that I think that it is not a good idea to actually work for Doordash. So, to start, I worked for Doordash for not that long. I did a couple of orders, made a couple of bucks off of it, a couple of $100. My girlfriend, she's done it, and I know a couple of people who have done kind of gig work like this, and they did it just to make some extra money. For whatever reason, people choose to work, they choose to work. So, why is DoorDash not a good option for you if you are the kind of people that they market towards? DoorDash isn't a good option for you because primarily it's three things. One, it's the taxes. If you work for DoorDash or if you work for maybe similar companies, you are technically a contract worker. And what that means is you're a 1099 worker. I'm not sure, you may or may not pay a lot to taxes and tax regulations and things like that. But being a 1099 worker basically means that you are self-employed. Self-employed sounds great until you look at a number of different things. People who are self-employed, they're taxed a little bit differently. So you might be used to working someplace or you work a job and the taxes are kind of taken out of your check automatically. As a 1099 employee, taxes are not taken out of your check automatically. What happens is the government kind of expects you to, the government looks at how much you made, but they expect you to keep track of how much you should pay them. A little bit silly, but basically, if you are a W-2 type employee where you worked at some places like maybe a retail store, basically you're employed by someone else. Part of your taxes would go towards, part of what you're paid gets automatically deducted and sent off towards your local or federal body of government. So here in Illinois, we have a state tax. It's 4.95%. Of course, you're not going to be paying that like at everything. I think if you're like 40K, but that's the thing though with Illinois. If you're like 40K, you might pay like 4.11%. But if you were making like $4 million, you're maxed out at 4.95%, which is like, I'm not going to get too much into politics, but it's not really like the federal government where if you're making 40,000, you're taxed at like 7% versus if you're making that 3-4 million, you might be taxed at like, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the federal government is, but you might be taxed at like 25 or more percent. And a little bit, I would say it's fair, but yeah, I'm not here to tell you what is or isn't fair. So, with that being said, one of the reasons why DoorDash doesn't work in my state is the fact that you are a 1099 employee. I was talking about the fact when you work at a job and stuff like that, those taxes are automatically taken out of your check. So as a 1099 employee, especially one who is not financially literate, you might think like, wow, I'm getting all of this money. Every dollar I make is going straight towards me. And, you might not be thinking about taxes because you're used to having taxes automatically taken out from you. Instead, now you have to pay attention to these things. Now you have to be the person who tracks their taxes. And in my state, if interesting fact, if you were making $20,000 a year from DoorDash, about 21% of that income should go to taxes, or at least you should be putting that away to pay for taxes. What does that look like? That's a little bit over $4,000. I wrote this stuff down. It's about $4,226. So if you were making $20,000, about 4,000 of that, so 16, about 4,000 of that has to go to taxes, and you basically get to keep about 16,000. Now, if you made that kind of money, 16,000, it's not good. You're technically below the poverty line in the United States and things like that. But in my state, you're below like the actually, I have a calculator right here. Let me just make sure so I'm not feeding anybody misinformation. Yes, at $14,000, you're technically below the minimum wage earnings in my state, which means you are in poverty. At least, even at $20,000, you're technically below the minimum earnings in my state, which means and that's before taxes, which means you are below the poverty line. Now, let's say you're not making what you could or should be making, or you're saying like this is just a side gig like that. You have to factor in things like gas. Of that $16,000, how much of the $4,000 that the government took was all to the government? You don't get to put gas and stuff into that. So of that $16,000 you got left, how much of that went to gas that you needed to make that $20,000 before taxes, $16,000 after taxes? How much was to gas? How much was to car insurance? How much was to mechanical repairs or just upkeep on your car? They usually, when you go to the dealership, at least for me, they say you should come in every 3 months to every 3,000 miles, and my oil change might be like, I don't know, $40, because I'm not finna pay a bunch of money for an oil change. How much of that had to go into the fact that you might be doing the 3,000 miles every month? You know, if you work 30 days in a month and you're doing just working 30 days in a month, that means you on average work about 100 miles a day, and you're doing an 8-hour shift as a DoorDash delivery driver, you might be doing about 5 to 10 miles per order. So all you have to do is take between like 10 and 20 orders in a day to be exponentially, you'll be 3 times more on just upkeep than I am on my car. You're already 3 times as ahead. So that's an expense that they don't really tell you about. Not only that, if you were to be truthful with your insurance company and tell them that you use your car as for work and stuff, your insurance premiums go up. And those things, like as you weigh those in, let's say if you were a truthful person and maybe just gas, I would say you'd use, I feel conservative in this estimate that you would use another $6,000 just in a year. So like net profit, you're up $10,000. Where would you find yourself at if you did go and work for a company? Part of the allure of DoorDash is the fact that you choose when you work. Sorry, I just wanted another drink. You choose when you work. You have that freedom, that flexibility. But part of the thing is when you go into work, you go and do a company job and stuff, and yeah, I know I hate working for all of these people and stuff like that. I like being my own boss, driving around, driving my music and all those things. That's probably like it's not really worth it, because when you go to work, your employer pays half of the taxes the government is going to charge you, at least with FICA, and which is Social Security and Medicare. But half of that tax is carried by your employer. You only drive to work and then you drive home from work. Driving isn't a part of your work. And then you factor in, I don't know, you factor in some other things, yeah, food and stuff. But if you worked at a job making 30, even making 20K a year, taxes and everything else, you'd probably be making more money than you would be driving around. Which, even though every person speaks to themselves, like if driving around in your car kind of going to crap is more important than being in this job because you're so unhappy and you don't even want to live because you work here, yeah, I'd say probably continue doing that. But if it's not, though, it's not. DoorDash talks about these average salaries and stuff like that when you sign up. Their top 10 average salaries all came from California, which has a substantial cost of living increase than the rest of the United States. If I was to just use an example, making $100,000 in California, that for a lot of places and a lot of states and stuff, that sounds like big money. Or at least I'll say for like San Francisco and like Bay Area type stuff, you're technically poor. You're like really poor because you might spend about $40,000 to $60,000 just on rent, and then you factor in cost of living, eating, and taxes, which are very high in California, and you definitely get put more towards down that poverty line. Most recently, I saw a 2-bedroom a house that was dilapidated and worn down and torn down. It was basically trash, crack house. If I was to look at this house from the outside, from what I'm used to and stuff like that, growing up in the city and stuff, I would call this house a crack house. And that went for over $1 million, because in that area, it's about like, oh, I could build it up. I'm rich. I could buy this house, build it up, and then it'd be worth some money. But I don't want to get too far off topic. In DoorDash's top 10 highest earning areas, the average hourly rate was about $19.33 to $21.67 an hour. 7 of those were in major metropolitan areas. 6 exactly were in California, 1 was in New York, and 3 were in some random states like Arkansas, which in that case, in that state, it's probably very good money. But for those other 7 states, those other 7 places, you're not making very good money. I also have some of the reportings that the average earner for full-time DoorDash delivery driver makes. And keep in mind, a lot of this, the averages are always skewed by someone very far at the end versus someone very high up at the end. But trusting these sites to have the fact that they have this band, I'm going to trust them and say that they were trying to put these averages into perspective based off state or like based off area. Indeed has the average full-time driver for DoorDash at about 18,000 with a maximum to 51,000, and Glassdoor has it at about 19,000 up to 45,000. So just looking at that, I grabbed the higher of the two. If you were to be making $51,000 and you were in my state of Illinois and you were making that as a DoorDash delivery driver, 28% of your income should be going to taxes. If you're 28%, just to put that in perspective, about $14,000. So out of that 51,000, expect to go home with about 37,000. And that doesn't factor in the fact that you had to pay for gas, you had to pay for insurance, and you probably had to pay for more gas, insurance, and upkeep on your car. So let's say, and I feel like this is like a under evaluation, but let's say you spent $7,000 on those things just for in this year. You only made $30,000. And I don't want to say only like I'm better or worse than the other person or anything like that, but you basically put in a lot of effort. You kind of destroyed the things you owned only to still be poor. Those kinds of rates don't get you too far. You're below the median and average income throughout all of the United States. And yeah, you made more than $11 an hour, but you didn't really win in a sense, because you have all of these different repairs and prices and all of these different things. I don't think that, with those being said, it's worth working. But I will say I think it is worth working if you live in a metropolitan area like Chicago, biggest metropolitan area in the Illinois, and you did it on a bike or an e-bike. If you're doing it on a bike or e-bike, your costs and repairs and stuff are substantially lower to where it makes sense. You know, with a bike, no one's telling you every 3,000 miles you got to get this fixed up or else, or you got to replace the oil or something like that. You might have to replace a chain, you might have to charge it up, you might have to, get your brakes fixed. But those are all things you have to do on a car. You got to get your brakes changed, you got to get the oil changed, freaking tires changed. Tires alone can run you $300 to $600 depending on what kind of car you're doing, and that's already a tenth of the budget I was setting aside, $6,000, $7,000. That's already a tenth of that. And on the low end, I see you putting those kinds of numbers onto your car. Another thing is DoorDash is greedy in the way of, it looks out for its customers and it looks out for itself, but it doesn't care about its dashers. Why do I say that? Look at the price that you're guaranteed per delivery. You're guaranteed about $3. Or at least in my area, it's $3. I think it's $2.99. You're guaranteed that. What if people don't want to tip? You might be thinking, oh yeah, maybe DoorDash, how they lose their money if people don't want to tip. No, DoorDash already makes their money. If you looked at anything you're gonna order off DoorDash and you looked at it in person, DoorDash, the way they make their money is they charge a little bit more per item on the menu. So if for me, I definitely noticed it was like a Popeye's chicken sandwich was $3.99 at Popeyes. On there, it's like it's over $4. Like, it's over that $3.99. That's how they make their money. They take a cut of everything that the establishment gets. So DoorDash already made their money. It's not in their best interest. It is, but it isn't. It's not in their best interest to look out for how much you will get paid per order. No, it's more so in their interest to make sure that what you are guaranteed per order is low enough to where the person ordering off DoorDash won't be like, $3 for a delivery? I'm not doing that. Or $3 plus a tip? I'm not doing that. And that's another thing. You get tipped. No one who works as a tipped worker works in a way that they have to give up something without being guaranteed a bare minimum. So, and in DoorDash's case, as a 1099 employee, you're self-employed. So we talk about this a lot in this country, it'll be like, oh yeah, I'm a waitress and I'm a waiter and I make $2.95 an hour. I don't make anything. You make tips, and it is legally required that if what you make plus tips does not equal out to the minimum wage, that your employer has to back you up and pay that difference. So if I was a waiter and I made, I don't know, in Chicago it's $9 an hour. That's the bare minimum for tipped workers, and then it's $15 an hour for a minimum wage. If I got tipped out and I made when after getting tipped out and everything, plus my stuff, it came out to about $11 an hour. Um, my employer legally has to pay me the extra $4 an hour to get me to minimum wage. But as a 1099, as a contract employee, I employ myself. I'm not required to pay myself any more money. So if DoorDash, if you were going through a spell like with what has been happening, where people are more so trying to focus on their finances and they're not into giving away free cash, you get to a point where you're a tipped worker without any protections of being a tipped worker. You kind of get where I'm going at. If everybody chose to not tip me anything, what happens? There's a bunch of wear and tear on my car, yeah. There's a bunch of gas being spent, yeah. Is there anyone who's going to pay for the difference in the hours that I work? No. That's just it. No. This, you work for yourself, and working for yourself comes with a lot of benefits, but it comes with a lot of negatives. But nobody's going to tell you about those negatives. DoorDash will tell you, yeah, you can make up to $22 an hour. Yeah, you can do that. I can make up to $22 an hour selling rubber bands. That's definitely possible. Is it likely? No. Is that something that happens a lot? No. At least from my experience, you get a lot of things where people tip $2, and you might drive 10 miles there, which is like 10 minutes, and then drive 10 miles back, and you only made $5. You just made $5 for what? 30 minutes of work? In my state, the minimum wage is $11, and then I have to wait around for another order. My car's running. I gotta get back to where it's a hot spot and all those things. I'm below the minimum wage. Even if I had like 2 jobs back to back, I just made $5 off each job. That was an hour. I made $10 in that 1 hour. Now what do I have to pay? 21% of that versus when I go and I'm guaranteed a wage of $11, and then I get percentage taken out, but I don't have to. I get a percentage covered for me by the government. It's better. It's just like these kinds of services and all that stuff like that. They prey on people who are poor, who are not thinking about these things, who not thinking about that. They might say like, I just made $600 last week doing DoorDash. Yeah, take out 20% of that, 21% at least of that $600. It's gone. You're not winning. You're not up. You're not doing anything because you still have to pay for your own gas, still have to pay for your own insurance, and then on top of that, you have to sell your time. It's just not a winning formula. Yeah, it sucks, but it's not it. I don't know if I have anything else to say other than vanilla vodka, Smirnoff vanilla vodka plus Pepsi. Delicious. It's dangerous because it's so good. That being said, though, yeah, I'm going to end this video. If you disagree with what I have to say, tell me why. If you agree with what I have to say, drop it down there. I'll talk to you. I'll cut up the freaking bun with you. But, yeah, I don't think it is a good system. And I think it preys a lot upon people's, especially when you're poor, you have this mentality of, I need money now. Screw what comes later, versus if you take things and you think about it and stuff, like how I am doing in this video, you would say, yeah, this might be quick money, and I might it might be quick money, but overall, is it really worth more than the hard hours of work at this place versus doing 12 hours of Doordash and driving around and your car's heating up, running, you're in the cold, you're trying to deal with this, and you're just hoping that somebody tips you. When really, a lot of people who order on Doordash, there are poor people who order on there. There's rich people who order on there. But just think about how many of your customers are poor people. They can't afford to tip you a bunch of money. They don't have cars. They don't have ways to get to the places they want to get to. Yeah, this system benefits them, but how many people say, I'm going to think past myself and look out for the next person? How many people say, I'm not going to eat because I know I can't tip the next person and make sure that they eat? You're not going to find that. So, that being said, I don't think, at least in my state of Illinois, Doordash is worth doing. It just seems like a losing deal unless you're on a bicycle or an e-bike, because then your costs and all that stuff are way lower. Or maybe even a moped where you get like better miles per gallon, lower cost because we was working on mopeds, and you could probably do a lot of those repairs yourself. But yeah, I don't see this being the move, and I hope that a lot more people they familiarize themselves with that, so they don't end up owing like a bunch of money to the IRS because they just thought that things were taken care of or some crap like that. You see a lot of rich people, they go to jail for tax evasion and stuff. Wesley Snipes is the one that comes to mind. But you don't hear about a lot of poor people who just didn't know that they had to keep paying those taxes because they usually work in an establishment that already makes them pay taxes. So, yeah. If you made it this far in the video, props to you. You're a champ. Pour up a Truly or whatever for you. That one was for you. But, yeah. Thanks for making it this far. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I hope if you were thinking about something because you need some money or you need any of those things, I hope whatever problems you're going through figure themselves out. I hope you find a better future. And I hope what I said helped you out. I really do. So I just want the best for everyone everywhere, and I hope this could have helped you in some way, shape, or form. So thank you. I'm gonna walk up to the camera and stop the video.